Welcome to Wobble Sandwire. Today, we're talking about Shamsul Iskandar's resignation as the Prime Minister's senior political secretary. And this is a really critical moment, I think. It's not just, one person stepping down. This feels like it's about the integrity of the whole government's reform agenda. When someone that high up, like Dr. Shamsul Iskandar, suddenly leaves a post that sensitive, you just know the political pressure has hit a boiling point.
It's the classic damage control playbook, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we really have to see this resignation for what it is. It's a strategic move, removing a political liability. And he even said it himself, citing, multiple scandals as the reason. So for the government, this is a very, very public signal that the heat from these allegations was becoming a real threat to the image of the unity government itself.
Okay, so let's unpack that political reasoning. Because the way it's framed is, it's everything. He steps down, but he doesn't admit to any wrongdoing. Instead, he says people were using these controversies to attack him, and that was damaging the government's image. His stated goal, believe it or not, was to fight back against these attacks.
That narrative is just fascinating from a political science perspective. It really is. He's painting himself as a kind of loyal soldier falling on his sword, stepping aside not because he's guilty, but because he's protecting the Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, and the whole administration. He even made sure to thank the Prime Minister for his trust. It's all designed to frame this as an honorable exit, not a forced one.
But that doesn't quite add up for me. I find that a little contradictory. If your genuine goal is to fight back, and you're confident you're innocent, wouldn't you stay in your job? I mean, that office gives you a massive public platform to defend yourself. Resigning almost feels like you're validating the accusations, doesn't it? It suggests it was all just too hot to handle from inside the office.
Well, that's where the harsh political reality comes in. The job of the Prime Minister's senior political secretary is incredibly sensitive. You're the PM's gatekeeper in many ways. So every single day he stayed in that role while facing these allegations. The headline wasn't just about him. The headline was about the Prime Minister's office, about the unity government having this cloud hanging over it. By resigning, he immediately takes the focus off the PM. He contains the damage, or at least tries to.
So it's less about his personal fight and more about protecting the institution, an act of self-preservation for the entire government. It sends a message that, look, we're taking action. But to really get why it came to this, we have to dig into the allegations themselves. Let's start with the first big one, the support letter. The one sent to the Ministry of Health about that hospital project.
Right, and this one really blew up because it was brought up in Parliament. It was Ahmad Fatli, the member of Parliament for Pasir Mas, who raised it. He put it right in the public spotlight. And the core of it was the support letter that Shamsul Iskandar had submitted to the Ministry of Health last year.
Support letters are pretty common, I guess, but the details here are what make it so toxic. The letter apparently listed 6 specific contractors. It wasn't just a general recommendation.
Exactly. And that's where you cross a line. That's where the integrity of the system is called into question. Because when they checked the records from the Construction Industry Development Board, the body that's supposed to vet these companies, it turned out most of the ones on his list weren't even qualified.
Can we just focus on that for a second? So you're saying a letter from the Prime Minister's senior aide listed 6 companies, and 4 out of those 6 didn't meet the basic eligibility criteria set by the Construction Industry Development Board.
That's correct. 4 out of 6. And you have to understand, the whole point of the Construction Industry Development Board is to be the gatekeeper. They ensure that only capable, financially stable, technically sound firms get to build our public infrastructure, especially a hospital. When a political office sends a letter trying to push unqualified companies into that process, it's not just bending the rules, it's shattering them. It suggests political connections matter more than competence, and that's incredibly dangerous for a public project.
Right. It's not just bad judgment at that point. It looks like an abuse of office to give certain people preferential treatment.
Yeah.
That is the very definition of influence peddling, isn't it?
It certainly has all the hallmarks of it. And it's important to remember what happened at first. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim knew about this. He came out and said he had reprimanded Shamsul Iskandar. But, and this is the key part, he also said publicly that he would not dismiss him over it.
So the first scandal, the support letter, was bad enough for a reprimand, but not a firing, which means the political calculus must have changed dramatically. This brings us to the second scandal, the Sabah prospecting permit case. This one seems to have taken things to a whole new level.
It's on a completely different scale, yes, because now we're talking about huge sums of money. We're talking about allegations of, graft. The whistleblower here is a key figure, a Sabah state assemblyman named Datuk Albert Tai.
And what was Thai's specific claim? What did he say Shamsul Iskandar was involved in?
Thai's allegation was that Shamsul Iskandar was involved in this Sabah prospecting license corruption case. He claimed that he, Thai, had already paid a lot of money to various politicians in Sabah and was trying to get it back. And he alleged that Shamsul Iskandar assured him he could use his influence to help recover those funds. That effectively puts Shamsul Iskandar in the position of a political fixer, using his proximity to the Prime Minister's office as leverage.
Wow. And that brings us to the money. The amount involved is just staggering. How much did Thai claim he spent on Shamsul Iskandar for this help?
The figure he alleged was over 629,000 ringgit, over 500,000 ringgit. And Thai claims he spent this on Shamsul Iskandar based on that promise, the assurance that his lost funds could be recovered. When you see a number like that, it just screams that there was a very high value placed on his perceived influence.
I mean, you don't spend over 600,000 ringgit unless you believe the person you're dealing with has immense political power. It shifts the whole narrative from a procedural issue, like the support letter, to a massive financial transaction tied to political access. This is exactly the sort of thing the government came to power promising to end.
Absolutely. The gravity of it is just immense. And you see, when you put the two scandals together, the questionable support letter and then this 500,000 ringgit transaction, the cumulative effect is just politically devastating.
And unlike a lot of political accusations, which are just, talk, Dr. Albert Thai is claiming he has proof. Hard evidence. What does he say he has?
This is what makes this case so potent. Tay is very specific. He says he's compiled over 300 pages of data. He claims it includes things like screenshots of WhatsApp conversations detailing the whole arrangement, and the real kicker, receipts. Receipts to prove the payments he made.
300 pages, screenshots, and receipts for payments of over 629,000 ringgit. Okay, That's not just hearsay anymore. That's a potential case file for prosecutors. When you have tangible documents like that, political spin just falls apart.
It changes the entire game. You can try to explain away a conversation, but you can't easily dismiss documented financial trails. And that, I think, is why the pressure became so immense that he had to resign, even when the Prime Minister had initially backed him after the first scandal. Just the claim that this documented evidence exists is too toxic. He couldn't stay.
So let's just pause on that. For everyone listening, when you look at the facts laid out, the sheer amount of money, the claim of detailed, documented evidence from another politician, and then the sudden resignation. What does that tell you about accountability at the highest levels? It feels like a massive failure, if it's true.
It's a huge test for the unity government's reform agenda, a critical one. They built their entire platform on anti-corruption and good governance. So when a scandal gets this close to the Prime Minister's office, the public is watching very, very closely. The combination of the two issues, one about procedural integrity and the other about alleged financial corruption, it just made his position impossible to defend.
So the resignation becomes a political necessity. It's about containing the fire and protecting the Prime Minister. But as you said, him resigning doesn't make the allegations vanish. It just shifts the problem from the political arena to, well, the legal one.
Precisely. By stepping down, he's no longer shielded by the prestige of the Prime Minister's office. And this puts the ball squarely in the court of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. If those 300 pages of evidence with receipts and WhatsApp messages are handed over, the commission has an absolute obligation to launch a full, transparent investigation.
And that really is the final test, isn't it? The public will want to see action that matches the seriousness of the claims. If that kind of evidence is real, an investigation has to happen, without fear or favor. The resignation might be the end of the political story for him, but it feels like the legal story is only just beginning.
And that's the bottom line for governance in this country. If powerful people can simply resign to get out of the political spotlight, then our investigative bodies have to prove they can't escape legal accountability. The credibility of the entire reform effort could ride on how the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission handles this case from here on out.
A sobering but very necessary thought for the future.
Indeed.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.